I knew after I got laid off, I don't know what's next, but you do know that I will be moving on. I do know that my business is going to be successful. It has already, in these 6 months that I've really been boots on the ground, I'm seeing numbers that I never would have known was even out there for me.
Welcome to Built4Profit Podcast, where entrepreneurs share real stories and strategies that actually work. We're here to inspire, challenge, and give you the playbook to profit with purpose. Let's get into it. Let's do it. From rebuilding her life through faith and purpose, Elise Rhymes is such a story of resilience and just what it takes to build something from the ground up and really reinvent yourself. And so we're going to hear her story. She's with us today. Elise Rhymes, welcome to the Built4Profit Podcast. We're so glad to have you here. So tell us about Kaminskiy Care Repair, Raleigh-Durham, because that's where you're at right now. We want to hear about the story getting up to there, but tell us about your business currently, and then we're going to back up the train a little bit.
So Kaminskiy Care Repair is a handyman service. I say we do all things handyman. We do drywall. We do plumbing. We change out toilets. We change out faucets. We repair plumbing repairs with people. We do all kinds of stuff. We repair fences. We do balconies. We do patios. We paint homes.
You're not down the street, girl.
I know, right?
When you think of a handyman, isn't this exactly what you picture?
You know, I was going to be a little chauvinistic in my mind and just say that's what I think of is, you know, a lovely, beautiful woman doing handyman repairs. I see it visually right here in front of my eyes, but that's not where you started, is it?
No. Not where I started.
Back us up a little bit, Elise, because I feel like we're missing a couple of pieces here.
In the life of Elise is what I like to call it. You know, I spent 20 plus years in distribution. I started in warehousing business in the early 2000s, worked my way up. I went from a supervisor on the warehouse floor to an operations manager on the warehouse floor to a director in the warehouse. And life continued to happen through all of those times, right? But this last time life showed up, I was laid off from my job.
Oh, wait a minute. I want to interrupt you because I think we're not giving quite the for this story, as I'm a little biased here, because we have something in common, Elise. We talked a little about this because I get the privilege of visiting with her briefly. You're doing this with 5 youngsters.
I am. They're not youngsters anymore, but at the time they were youngsters. They
do start off young.
They started off really young. You know, they got here and they were such babies. I was like, wait a minute. But you know, I decided life. You know, I was married. It wasn't the best marriage. My husband passed away during the times between trying to figure out life, trying to figure out my own pathway. I was in college. I had my son at 17. I was going to college and decided to get married in college, you know, because you're so in love. You got all the answers to all this love that's happening, right? I have my first child. I meet my husband and I stopped going to school, but I still needed to work. So that's kind of how I got introduced to the warehousing business. And from there, I went back to school. I got my degree.
Good for you.
And this was all why my youngest was 5 when I decided to go back to school and finish my degree. I went back to school and I finished up my degree because somebody told me, if you get your degree, you'll be able to get this supervisor's job and ... and yay. So I went back to school, I finished, and I obtained a supervisor's job. And from there, I became an operations manager. And somebody said, you're not going to be able to get that big promotion you want. You leave your little town of Memphis, Tennessee, and go explore this huge world, right? So I decided when the youngest turned 18, my husband was still living then, and explore. I went to Portland, Oregon. In the time frame of me going to Portland, Oregon, he passed away.
Mercy.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
I appreciate that. And I couldn't turn back the hands of time. I couldn't, you know. Luckily, I am such a faith-based woman, and I understand the life cycle that we have here on this earth. You know, I'm going to say this out loud because for me, it's therapy and it's something that I'm not ashamed of. My husband passed away from a fentanyl overdose. At the same time, I'm trying to get things moving. Same time that happens, COVID it decides to show up.
Just bring it all
Bring it
on.
on, just bring it on. And I'm out here. So I leave Portland, Oregon, because that job decides that everything's shut down. Nobody's moving, nobody's doing anything. And they kind of laid me off, which was, that would have been my second layoff.
That's just rude.
Yeah. That's all I'm going to say about that. That's just absolutely rude. So fast forward, I go to what I call Little Town, Illinois, but it was the most eye-opening place for me because it was such a small town where there wasn't any noise. It was a little town called Peru, Illinois, and I met the most amazing people, but I didn't find community. Memphis is not a big city, but it is a city that we got life going on. Listen, when I left Memphis, I told my mother, I'm never coming back. You ain't got to worry about it. I'm out. I'm outside. I am outside and I'm going to be outside, okay? But anyway, I came back to Memphis for a director's job. And from there, in my spirit, I always felt like that wasn't it. That was not the end all for me. I had been in the profession for quite a while. Somewhere along the way, I don't know what happened, but I used to tell my coworkers, I would say, I'm going to build stuff one day. Don't worry about it. I am going to put my hands on some stuff and I'm going to build stuff one day. Okay. Lo and behold, another layoff.
Oh my goodness.
Another layoff. 2 years later, I get the job. I go back to Memphis and here comes another layoff. And in that, between the layoff and at the time of the layoff, something very tragic had happened involving my 18-year-old daughter that we're still kind of right now walking this pathway with her. But after this layoff, I kind of looked at Elise, what's next, really? You're really going back into the warehouse business. And I think somewhere along the way, I found me pouring into so many people, but nobody pouring back into me.
I'm just going to take a moment on that. That's a strong statement.
And even when your faith is heavy, even when you're heavily, believing, I still think if I'm in an environment, not only should I be pouring into others, somebody should be pouring into me too. And I don't think I found that. I think I found a little exhaustion because coming from Memphis, it's a tough city. And I found myself wanting something else and needing something else. So me and Elise had a real good conversation too. I mean, we talked about it. We prayed about it. And I decided to go to trade school. So I went back to a technical college and I took a property maintenance course with the expectation of opening a construction company. My brother has his own construction company. My uncle comes from a concrete background. So it's not like it was something that I didn't know existed. But I did see the money was there. I do see the money is out there. But anyway, I decided to go back. So I took what's called a property maintenance course. And it gave me, I took a semester of electrical or plumbing and a semester of carpentry. And here I am today, a graduate of Moore Technical College. But during this time, a mutual of mine and Kaminskiy found out about me. I wasn't talking about me to them, but somebody was talking about me to them.
That's some recruitment right there. I like it.
I like it. I ain't even mad at it. Somebody was talking to them about me. They invited me out to San Diego, California, and two of the most gentle, supportive men sat me down and gave me this bill. They're very new in the franchising business, and they wanted to offer me an opportunity to franchise with them. I look up to the powers that be, to my high power, and I say, is this what we're doing? Okay, I'm here for it. I am all the way here for it. I saw two men pray together, invite me into their world, and I'm on a journey today. We're here today on a new journey as an only female owner, I do believe, of Kaminskiy Care and Repair. I am the first female owner of Kaminskiy Care and Repair.
Not only did you branch into a new industry as a franchisee, did you not pick up and move to a new place to have this territory? Tell us a little bit about that.
So in my previous life, I got to go back there because this whole thing right here is new. So I got to talk about previous life. In my previous life, I traveled a little bit with my jobs and I spent a little bit of time in Greensboro, North Carolina. I'm always going to talk about God because he's the only person that I know that hears everything that I have to say. When I visited Greensboro, it was during COVID and I fell in love with it. And I said, you know what? I want to build the home that my children and I will share after they retire me. I always said I wanted to be in North Carolina. If I wanted to build that home, I wanted to build it inland from the coast, especially with this hurricane we got going on right now. But anyway, further inland from the coast. But I wanted to be in North Carolina. And by this
I
time,
see tourism going up right now. Like North Carolina's going to call you and be like, thank you for the endorsement.
Right.
And pretty soon you'll be a brochure on the tourism. And also for anyone who has issues, they got their repair person.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Anyway, in the midst of this, they have territories. When you buy into a franchise, they give you several places that you can choose from. Nothing was in Memphis, and I didn't want to be there. I knew after I got laid off, I even told my friends, y'all know I won't be here long. I don't know what's next, but you do know that I will be moving on. Raleigh, North Carolina came up, and I told them that's where I wanted to be. And here we are today, grounded and rooted with Kaminskiy Care Repair here in the Raleigh-Durham area. Just me. No husband, no children to come and support me, but it's okay.
We're behind you.
Thank
But
you. That's right.
the story is so, I was telling you a little bit about it after our conversation briefly. And not only is just going and getting into a business for yourself a little intense, right? Just a little bit into a new industry in a place where you know no one. You actually said you showed up and like, hi, you want to be my friend? Like first day of school.
Elise.
Yeah. That's some fearless stuff. What grounded you? Do you go, I got this. I can do this.
I just keep a mindset. I'm just not afraid. God didn't give us the spirit of fear. He didn't. That stays here. Even when that inside creeps up in you, I think moving away from home and kind of, refinding myself after some tragedy and that COVID period of aloneness, just kind of, and I was out there by myself. So I just kind of try to keep a positive attitude. I keep a winning spirit. I do know that my business is going to be successful. It has already, in these 6 months that I've really, really, really been boots on the ground, I'm seeing numbers that I never would have known was even out there for me, and the support I get from Kaminskiy in this new journey kind of keeps the fear factor. The market hasn't seen me yet. I'm coming. I'm in there now.
You might have some more friends there. I have a feeling you might have a couple more friends to share things with, to bounce some things off,
Okay, I hope so. I'm looking for community. Community is a big thing, I want people to understand about the franchising business too is when these companies decide to franchise, they found the magic sauce. There's a sauce and they've stirred that pot and they've gone through their own woes and pains. And that doesn't mean that you as a new entrepreneur are not going to see some of those same challenges, right? But at the end of the day, there is a support team. I would tell anybody if they were going to look into this, find one where you have the support of the brand. You have the support of the people behind the brand to help you maneuver through what you don't know, because I still don't know everything.
Yeah. I'm interested, Elise. So your story of how you got into the franchise is so different than any story that we've heard so far. And not just because of the background and the warehouse and some of the tragedy that you overcame, which is extremely impressive, but in the aspect that you weren't looking for it. That's not usually how the story goes. Usually, there's a point where they want to go into entrepreneurship and then speak with a consultant, go to a franchise show. Like that is very typical. So when you went out to meet with them, I'm just very interested. You're clearly a faith-filled person, so you felt that. But what other things were telling you? I mean, I haven't even heard you say entrepreneurship was on your radar up until then, unless you left that part out.
It was building things, right?
Right. Well,
It wasn't. This last layoff, I knew I didn't want to go back into that industry.
You work for some big companies.
Yeah,
You
I
work
did.
for some big companies.
I did.
We're not going to name drop.
Gonna name them, but I did. And they were, I'm talking about big Fortune 500 companies. But, in your path of who you are and who you evolve to be, we reinvent ourselves all the time. We kind of say, you know what? That chapter was great. That chapter fed my family. That chapter kept us from being out in the cold. That chapter, I met some amazing people along the way. I really feel like if I ever had to, there are some people I can tap on the shoulder and say, hey, back on the market. I really want to see, and I'll tell you, this is what I kind of tell myself. Seeing some small companies grow into amazing brands where they can sustain themselves. They have the employees, they have the infrastructure, and I've helped some of them along the way be who they have evolved to be. I look at Elise and I say, what if you put that same energy that you gave them into something for yourself? I pray about it because without that, I don't know if it's going to be sustainable without that, okay? Because it has to come with some substance from higher powers with all of the evolution in the universe and all these things that people will tell you. They all have to come together. And like you said, I'm a faith-based person, but I'm also no faith. Faith without works is dead. So that means I have a piece of this that I have to do too. If I want it to be blessed and I want it to work out, then I have to put in the work too. And it's a thing that just says, I wanted something different for me.
I can hear so much certainty. I like that word.
I do too. I like
certain in your conviction. And I don't want to put words in your mouth that I kind of like I am, but I feel like with Kaminskiy, you went there and you felt like they said, I got you, Elise.
I did.
And that's powerful.
Yeah. Listen, I'll be honest on what sold me. They have this entire presentation and it's amazing. They go through these numbers and everything, but that's not what sold me. What sold me was they took me to dinner. And first off, I've ridden in a Tesla truck, just so you guys know, with Big Kaminskiy on the side. Okay. I've ridden in a Tesla truck with Big Kaminskiy on the side.
I can't say that. I'm easy. You would have had me with the food.
I ride in this truck, this electric truck, and it was amazing. Okay. This thing is like a jet and it's this big old armor truck. But anyway, we go to dinner. Before we eat, we pray. That's just who they are. And those guys have their own story about how they met each other. But from there, when you work a regular job, it's not good to talk about God. Nobody wants to hear about, your religion. And sometimes you put in situations that don't always align. And maybe you have to just go with the flow. If that's what's happening, then we just got to do it and we just move on. And we know as human beings, it doesn't always sit well with us, but this is how we eat today. This is what pays the bills. This is what puts food on our tables. And to know that I could live and truly be me and not be ashamed to be a believer and be able to speak about it when I want to, because it's my business.
Yeah, because you saw their character.
Yeah.
And hearing from you already, that resonates. Like that is very apparent from speaking with you, Elise, that this is important, but it's also just part of who you are. So finding a company that, the numbers make sense, that's great, but the character aligns as well.
Yeah.
That's when great things happen.
I mean, lot. Sometimes I'm afraid to talk to them. They are businessmen now, so you got to know they are businessmen, okay? And they going to drill me like, I feel like, am I working for them? Maybe I am. Yes, I am, but they're giving me their knowledge of what they did right, what they did wrong. What are you doing today? Let me help you in this space. Okay, so why aren't we here yet, Elise? So what's happening? And the market is different everywhere, right? And when you're out here and you're trying to understand the market and you don't know, and
you're new.
I'm new,
Yeah.
I still got the fresh new car smell in the, what I'm saying?
Yeah. We're going to get an endorsement now. I think we're going to plug right into that.
It feels good to know that somebody has already been through some of the things that I'm going through. And it's also important to me because I always feel like I still want to give back. Everybody wants their homes to look nice. Everyone wants their homes to be in the best condition that it can be in. I don't want to send people out to people's homes. I send them to come fix your drywall and it's a mess. Those Google reviews mean everything to me. Ensuring that my people show up in a professional manner. And that's where the background from my professional life and having to deal with people differently and showing up in that space with the business acumen that I've obtained through my previous work helps me in this space also, because I also have to be on the professional side. You need to show up to people's homes looking the part. I know they're only in a pair of jeans and a Kaminskiy t-shirt, but make sure those jeans and t-shirts is clean.
Yes, ma'am.
We
know that firsthand.
Yeah. And I always want my people to show up and know that regardless of what type of customer they are, they deserve respect. You owe them that every time you show up, you owe them whatever they're asking because they're paying their hard-earned dollars for us to be here and service them. And I want one excellent service. If it's not right, we're coming back to fix it and we're going to get it right. And that's where my standards are here. Taller than this 5'1" lady. Okay.
We need you right in our area, Elise, because guess what? We keep you in business, okay?
Hey,
with review and
there's always room for another franchise, just FYI.
There you go. Well, it definitely sounds like, we talk about a lot of different brands and we're not bringing up any names of any brands, but the franchisees want to have that, what is it, the passion aligned with the franchisor that they want them to do well. They do everything to help them succeed. It sounds like the Kaminskiy guys, they love, but sometimes it's tough love.
which you have to, encourage, but challenge.
Yeah.
Anyone who's in leadership, and that, Elise, from it sounds like what you have done and overseeing people, and you've got a team of your own now. But encourage them, challenge them, and that's think when you get the best out of someone.
Right. What a great representation of their brand. And we know that you're going to have so much success, so much impact, and not even just building your team, but building that community, because you're in people's homes and you're taking care of probably one of the biggest expenses they have.
Yep.
Right. You're caretaking that for sure. Everybody is listening in different parts and opportunities and journeys, and hopefully maybe spotlighting a new concept as we're kind of closing out our wonderful discussion with our lively Elise. What is something that you would really want to share to make that impact that you obviously do every day with our listeners that you really want them to know?
Don't be afraid. We're evolving every day. We see the world is changing. AI is taking over in a lot of different ways. Be open to new ideas. Be willing to see the world for really what it is. When the opportunity presents itself, this is what I tell myself often. I may never have gotten this opportunity again. You just don't know. Sometimes things only happen once. I'm open-minded. So I want people to always know that, don't close your mind. Don't be afraid to do it. Find you a good support system, find some faith in some type of higher power, and know that when you enter into this franchising world, this entrepreneurship world, you've got to give 120% of you. You've got to give you back to the world, to whatever it is that you're trying to do. That business owns you now, okay? But you own the business. And if you want to be successful and you want to find it, and listen, I live a very minimalistic life at times.
Who drives in Tesla trucks?
Yeah.
But I want to be a millionaire one day. I want to see millions of dollars, I want to make sure that I leave a legacy for my children. I want to make sure that they have something that's theirs. But I also want them to see that there's no finish line. There's no point. You can go and be and do whatever you want and be whoever you want to be in this world. And don't let anybody tell you that you can't, because you can. And you don't have to have a lot of money, because you got that, okay? You don't have to have a lot of money to do it. You got to have a lot of belief in yourself. If you have that, sky's the limit.
Wow. I don't even know what to follow up with
Yeah.
that. I feel like
There's no follow-up. It's powerful, Elise. And your belief in yourself, your faith, those are both so evident, and you can feel them. We can feel it, and anyone listening is going to feel that. And it's just encouraging. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being open and vulnerable and sharing that message, because it's really going to resonate.
and Kaminskiy Care and Repair, Raleigh-Durham. I mean, you've got lots of new friends out there, and a community, I think, is going to circle around you. Because who wouldn't want to hang out with you?
I say.
I don't know. I'm going to say right there. She still had me at food. Yeah, you meet friends for life, at least. One of the heaviest loads business owners carry are taxes and expenses. They can make or break your bottom line.
Yes, we see it every day. And that is why we have partnered with Lightening the Load, expert tax strategists and CPAs, and they help you get a deep dive on those numbers, uncover different strategies, and keep more of what you've actually earned.
They don't just file returns, they lighten the load for you with confidence. And that way you can grow and scale your business.
So check out, it's in the show notes below. We got a 30-minute free consultation for you with Lightening the Load, and you're talking to a CPA.
Unbelievable.
Click on the link below and take advantage of it. We'll see you in the next episode.